I'm back. Today I'm going to be Nehemiah 9 to 13, Proverbs 6, and Psalm 101. Let's get started. Now on the 24th day of this month, the people of Israel were assembled with fasting and in sackcloth, and with earth on their heads. And the Israelites separated themselves from all foreigners and stood and confessed their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. And they stood up in their place and read from the book of the Lord their God for a quarter of the day. For another quarter of it they made confession and worshipped the Lord their God. On the stairs of the Levites stood Jeshua, Bani, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Bani, Sherebiah, Bani, and Chinani, and they cried with a loud voice to the Lord God. Then the Levites, Jeshua, Kadmiel, Bani, Hashabniah, Sherebiah, Hodiah, Shebaniah, and Pethahiah said, Stand up and bless the Lord your God from everlasting to everlasting. Blessed be your glorious name, which is exalted above all blessing and praise. You are the Lord, you are light. You have made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their hosts, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them, and you preserve all of them, and the host of heaven worships you. You are the Lord, the God who chose Abraham and brought him out of Ur of the Chaldeans, and gave him the name Abraham. He found his heart faithful before you, and made him the covenant to give to his offspring the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, and the Girgashite. And you've kept your promise, for you are righteous. And you saw the affliction of their fathers in Egypt, and heard their cry at the Red Sea, and performed signs and wonders against Pharaoh and all his servants and all the people of his land. For you knew that they acted arrogantly against your fathers, and you made a name for yourself, as it is to this day. And you divided the sea before them, so that they went through the midst of the sea on dry land. And you cast their pursuers into the depths, as a stone into mighty waters. By a pillar of cloud you led them in the day, and by a pillar of fire in the night to light for them the way in which they should go. You came down on Mount Sinai and spoke with them from heaven, and gave them right rules and true laws, good statutes and commandments. And you made known to them your holy Sabbath, and commanded them commandments and statutes and a law by Moses your servant. You gave them bread from heaven for their hunger, and brought water for them out of the rock for their thirst. And you told them to go in to possess the land that you had sworn to give them. But then our fathers acted presumptuously and stiffened their neck and did not obey your commandments. They refused to obey and were not mindful of the wonders that you performed among them. But they stiffened their neck and appointed a leader to return to their slavery in Egypt. But you are God ready to forgive, gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, and did not forsake them, even when they had made for themselves a golden calf, and said, This is your God who brought you out of Egypt, and has committed great blasphemies. You in your great mercies did not forsake them in the wilderness. The pillar of cloud to lead them in the way did not depart from them by day, nor the pillar of fire by night to light for them the way by which they should go. You gave your good spirit to instruct them, and did not withhold your manna from their mouth, and gave them water for their thirst. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness, and they lacked nothing. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell. And you gave them kingdom and peoples, and allotted them to every corner. So they took possession of the land of Sihon, king of Heshbon, and of the land of Og, king of Bashan. You multiplied their children as the stars in heaven, and you brought them into the land that you had told their fathers to enter and possess. So the descendants went in and possessed the land, and you subdued before them the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, and gave them into their hand, with their kings and the peoples of the land, that they might do with them as they would. And they captured fortified cities and a rich land, and took possession of houses full of all good things, cisterns already hewn, vineyards, olive orchards, and fruit trees in abundance. So they ate and were filled, and became fat, and delighted themselves in your great goodness. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against you, and cast a law behind their back, and killed your prophets, who had warned them in order to turn them back to you. And they committed great blasphemies. Therefore you gave them into the hand of their enemies, who made them suffer. And in the time of their suffering they cried out to you, and you heard them from heaven. And according to your great mercy, you gave them saviors who saved them from the hand of their enemies. But after they had rest, they did evil again before you, and you abandoned them to the hand of their enemies, so that they ate dominion over them. Yet when they turned and cried to you, you heard from heaven. And many times you delivered them according to your mercies, and you warned them in order to turn them back to your Lord. Yet they acted presumptuously and did not obey your commandments, but sinned against your rules, which if the person does, he shall live by them. And they turned a stubborn shoulder and stiffened their neck, and would not obey. Many years you bore with them and warned them by your spirit through your prophets. Yet they would not give ear. Therefore you gave them into the hands of the peoples of the land. Nevertheless, in your great mercy you did not make an end of them or forsake them, for you are a gracious and merciful God. Now therefore, O our God, the great, the mighty, and the awesome God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love, let not all the hardships seem little to you that has come upon our kings, our princes, our priests, our prophets, our fathers, and all your people, since the time of the kings of Assyria until this day. Yet you have been righteous in all that has come upon us, for you have dealt faithfully and have acted wickedly. Our kings, our princes, and our priests, and our fathers had not kept your law or paid attention to your commandments and your warnings that you gave them. Even in your own kingdom, and amid your great goodness that you gave them, and in the large and rich land that you set before them, they did not serve you or turn from their wicked works. Behold, we are slaves this day, and the land that you gave to our fathers to enjoy its fruit and its good gifts. Behold, we are slaves, and its rich yield goes to the kings who have set over us because of our sin. They rule over our bodies and over our livestock as they please, and we are in great distress. Because of all this, we make a firm covenant and write on the sealed document are the names of our princes, our Levites, and our priests. On the seals are the names of Nehemiah the governor, the son of Hakaliah, Zedekiah, Seraiah, Azariah, Jeremiah, Pasha, Amariah, Malchijah, Hattush, Shebaniah, Malach, Haran, Meromoth, Obadiah, Daniel, Ginnathan, Baruch, Meshullam, Abijah, Mijamin, Maaziah, Bilgad, Shemaiah. These are the priests, and the Levites, Jeshua the son of Azaniah, Benui the sons of Kadmiel, and their brothers, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Kelita, Pelaiah, Hanan, Micah, Rahal, Hashabiah, Zachar, Sherebiah, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Bani, Beninu, the chiefs of the people, Parosh, Pahath-Moab, Elam, Zatu, Bani, Bunni, Asgad, Levi, Adonijah, Bigvai, Aden, Anatar, Hezekiah, Hazar, Hodiah, Hashem, Bezai, Harith, Anathoth, Levi, Magpius, Meshalom, Hezir, Meshezabel, Zadok, Jaddua, Pelatiah, Hanan, Anaiah, Hoshea, Hananiah, Hashab, Halohesh, Pilha, Shobek, Raham, Hashabna, Manasseh, Ahia, Hanan, Anan, Malach, Haram, Bana. The rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, and the singers, the temple servants, and all would separate themselves from the peoples of the lands to the law of God. Their wives, their sons, their daughters, all who have knowledge and understanding, join with their brothers, their nobles, and enter into a curse and an oath to walk in God's law that was given by Moses, the servant of God, and to observe and do all the commandments of the Lord our Lord, and his rules and his statutes. We will not give our daughters to the peoples of the lands, or take their daughters for our sons. And if the peoples of the lands bring any goods or any grain on the Sabbath day to sell, we will not buy from them on the Sabbath day or on a holy day, and we will forego the crops of the seventh year and the exaction of every debt. We will also take on ourselves the obligation to give yearly a third part of a shekel for the service of the house of our God, for the showbread, the regular grain offering, the regular burnt offerings, the Sabbaths, the new moon, the appointed feasts, the holy things, and the sin offerings, to make atonement for ourselves. For all the work of the house of our God, we, the priests, the Levites, and the people have likewise cast lots for the wood offering, to bring it into the house of our God, according to our fathers' houses, at times appointed by you, to burn on the altar of the Lord our God. As it is written in the law, we obligate ourselves to bring the first fruits of our ground, and the first fruits of all fruit of every tree, year by year, to the house of the Lord. Also to bring to the house of our God, to the priests who minister in the house of our God, the firstborn of our sons and our blood, and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstborn of our herds and our flocks, and to bring the first of our dough and our contributions, the fruit of every tree, the wine and the oil, to the priests, to the chambers of the house of our God, and to bring the Levites the tithes from our ground. For it is the Levites who collect the tithes, and all our towns are owed labor. And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall be with the Levites when the Levites receive the tithes. And the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes to the house of our God, to the chambers of the storehouse. For the people of Israel and the sons of Levi shall bring the contribution of grain, wine, and oil to the chambers, where the vessels of the sanctuary are, as well as the priests who minister, and the gatekeepers and the singers. We will not neglect the house of our God. Now the leaders of the people lived in Jerusalem, and the rest of the people cast lots to bring 1 out of 10 to live in Jerusalem to the holy city, while 9 out of 10 remained in the other towns. And the people blessed all the men who willingly offered to live in Jerusalem. These are the chiefs of the province who lived in Jerusalem, but in the towns of Judah. Everyone lived on his property in their towns. Israel, the priests, the Levites, the temple servants, and the descendants of Solomon's servants. And in Jerusalem lived certain of the sons of Judah, and of the sons of Benjamin. Of the sons of Judah, Athaiah, the son of Uzziah, son of Zechariah, son of Amari, son of Shaphatih, son of Mahalalel. Of the sons of Perez, and Manasseh, the son of Bara, son of Kolhozer, son of Hazaziah, son of Adaiah, son of Joarib, son of Zechariah, son of the Shemaiah. All the sons of Perez who lived in Jerusalem were 468 valiant men. And these are the sons of Benjamin: Sallu, the son of Misham, son of Joed, son of Adaiah, son of Kaleh, son of Maaseiah, son of Ithiel, son of Jishan, and his brothers, men of valor, 928. Joel, the son of Zitri, was their overseer, and Judah, son of Hasanua, was second over the city. Over of the priests, Jedaiah, the son of Joarib, Jachin, Sariah, the son of Hilkiah, son of Misham, son of Zadok, son of Moriah, son of Ahitub, ruler of the house of God. And their brothers who did the work of the house, 822. And Adaiah, the son of Jeroham, son of Pelatiah, son of Amzi, son of Zechariah, son of Asher, son of Malchijah, and his brothers, heads of fathers' houses, 242. And Amashai, son of Azarah, son of Asai, son of Meshulamoth, son of Immer, and their brothers, mighty men of valor, 128. Their overseer was Zabdiel, the son of Haggadol. And over the Levites, Shemaiah, the son of Hasha, son of Azrikam, son of Hashabiah, son of Bunni, and Shabbathai, and of the chiefs of the Levites, who were over the outside work of the house of God. And Mattaniah, son of Micah, son of Zabdi, son of Asaph, who was the leader of the praise, who gave thanks, and Bakbukiah, the son of the second among his brothers, and Abda, the son of Shemuel, son of Galal, son of Jonathan. All the Levites in the holy city was 284. The gatekeepers, Akkub, Talmud, and their brothers, who kept watch at the gate, were 172, and the rest of Israel, and of the priests and the Levites, and were in all the towns of Judah, every one in his inheritance. But the temple servants lived on Ophel, and Ziha and Gispa were over the temple servants. The overseer of the Levites in Jerusalem were Uzi, the son of Bani, son of Hashabiah, son of Mattaniah, son of Micah, son of the sons of Asaph, the singers, over the work of the house of God. For there was a command from the king concerning them, and a fixed provision for the singers, as every day required. And Pekahiah, son of Meshezabel, of the sons of Zerah, the son of Judah, was at the king's side in all matters concerning the people. And as for the villages with their fields, some of the people in Judah lived in Kiriath Arba and its villages, and in David and its villages, and in Jekabzeel and its villages, and in Jeshua, and in Maladah, and in Bethpelah, in Hazar-Shul, in Beersheba and its villages, in Ziklag, in Mekkedah and its villages, in En-Rimmon, in Zorah, in Jarmuth, Sanoah, Edom and their villages, Lachish and its fields, and Azekah and its villages. So they encamped from Beersheba to the valley of Hinnom. The people of Benjamin also lived from Gebal, from Michmash, Ijah, Bethel and its villages, Anathoth, Nob, Ananiah, Hazor, Brama, Gittaim, Hadid, Zeboim, Nebalat, Lod, and Ono, the valley of craftsmen. Certain divisions of the Levites in Judah were assigned to Benjamin. These are the priests and the Levites who came up with Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, Seraiah, Jeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Malach, Hattush, Shechaniah, Raham, Meremoth, Eder, Ginnathoi, Abida, Mijamin, Maadiel, Bilgah, Shemaiah, Joarib, Jedaiah, Sallu, Amok, Hilkiah, Jedaiah. These were the chiefs of the priests of their brothers in the days of Jeshua. And the Levites, Jeshua, Binnui, Kadmiel, Sherebiah, Judah, and Mattaniah, who with his brothers was in charge of the songs of thanksgiving, and Bakbukiah, and Uni, and their brothers, and stood opposite them in their service. And Jeshua was the father of Joachim. Joachim was the father of Elisha. Elisha the father of Joed. Joed the father of Jonathan. And Jonathan the father of Jaddua. And in the days of Joachim were priests, heads of fathers' houses, of Seraiah, Meriah, of Jeremiah, Hananiah, of Ezra, Meshullam, of Amari, Jehohanan, of Malachi, Jonathan, of Sherebaniah, Joseph, of Haram, Adna, of Meraioth, Helkai, of Eder, Zechariah, of Ginnathan, Mishal, of Abijah, Zitri, or of Benjamin, of Moadiah, Piltai, of Bilgah, Shemu, of Shemaiah, Jehonathan, of Jorim, Mattanai, of Jedaiah, Uzi, of Salai, Kalai, of Amok, Eber, of Hilkiah, Jashabiah, of Jedaiah, Nethanel. In the days of Eliashib, Joada, Johanan, and Jeduah, the Levites were reported as heads of fathers' houses. So too were the priests in the reign of Darius the Persian. As for the sons of Levi, their heads of fathers' houses were written in the book of the Chronicles until the days of Johanan, the son of Eliashib. And the chiefs of the Levites, Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Jeshua, the son of Gadiel, with their brothers who stood opposite them, to praise and give thanks, according to the commandment of David, the man of God, to watch by the watch. Mattaniah, Bakbakia, Obadiah, Misham, Talmud, and Akab were gatekeepers standing guard at the storehouses of the gate. These were in the days of Joachim, son of Jeshua, son of Josiah, and in the days of Nehemiah the governor, and of Ezra the priest and scribe. And at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites in all their places to bring them to Jerusalem and to celebrate the dedication with gladness, with thanksgiving, and with singing, with cymbals, harps, and lyres. And the sons of the Simeons gathered together from the districts surrounding Jerusalem, and from the villages of the Netophites, also from Beth Gilgal, and from the region of Geba, and Esmaveth, for the singers had built for themselves villages around Jerusalem. And the priests and the Levites purified themselves, and they purified the people and the gates and the wall. Then I brought the leaders of Judah up onto the wall, and appointed 2 great choirs that gave thanks. One went to the south of the wall, to the dung gate, and after them went Hoshea and half of the leaders of Judah, and Azariah, Ezra, Mishael, Judah, Benjamin, Shimei, and Jeremiah, and 7 of the priests sent with trumpets. Zechariah, the son of Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, son of Mattaniah, son of Micaiah, son of Zachar, son of Asaph, and his relatives Shemaiah, Azarel, Milai, Gilai, Marai, Nethanel, Judah, and Hanani, with their musical instruments of David, the man of God. Ezra the scribe went before. At the fountain gate they went up straight by the stairs of the city of David, as at the ascent of the wall, above the house of David, to the water gate on the east. The other choir of those who gave thanks went to the north, and they followed them with half of the people on the wall, above the tower of the oven, to the broad wall, and above the gate of Ephraim, and by the gate of Yishan, and by the fish gate, and the tower of Hananel, and the tower of the hunter, to the sheep gate, and they came to a hole at the gate of the guard. So both choirs of those who gave thanks stood in the house of God, and I and half of the officials with me, and the priests Eliakim, Maaseiah, Miniamin, Micaiah, Elihanai, Zechariah, and Hanani, with trumpets, and Maaseiah, Shemaiah, Eleazar, Uzi, Jehohanan, Malchijah, Elam, and Ezra. And the singers sang with Jezrahiah as their leader, and they offered great sacrifices that day and rejoiced. For God had made them rejoice with great joy. The women and children also rejoiced, and the joy of Jerusalem was set far away. On that day, men were appointed over the storerooms, the contributions, the firstfruits, and the tithes, to gather into them the portions required by the law for the priests and for the Levites, according to the field of the temple. For Judah rejoiced over the priests and the Levites who ministered, and they performed the service of labor and the service of purification, as did the singers and the gatekeepers, according to the command of David and his son Solomon. For long ago, in the days of David and Asaph, they were directors of the singing, and they were songs of praise and thanksgiving to God. And all Israel in the days of Zerubbabel and in the days of Nehemiah gave the daily portions for the singers and the gatekeepers, and they set apart that which was for the Levites, and the Levites set apart that which was for the sons of Aaron. On that day they read from the book of Moses in the hiring of the people, and it was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever enter the assembly of God, for they did not meet the people of Israel with bread and wood, but hired Balaam against them to curse them. Yet our God turned the curse into a blessing. As soon as the people heard this law, they separated from Israel all those of war into sin. Now before this, Eliashib the priest, who was appointed over the chambers of the house of our God, who was related to Tobiah, prepared for Tobiah a large chamber where they had previously put the grain offering, the frankincense, the vessels, and the tithes of bread, wine, and oil, which were given by commandment to the Levites, singers, and gatekeepers, and the contributions for the priests. While this was taking place, I was not in Jerusalem. For in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, I went to the king, and after some time I asked leave for the king and came to Jerusalem. And then I discovered the evil that Elisha had done for Tobiah, preparing for him a chamber in the court of the house of God. I was very angry, and I threw all the household furniture of Tobiah out of the chamber. Then I gave orders, and they cleansed the chambers, and I brought back there the vessels of the house of God, with the grain offering and the frankincense. I also found out that the portions of the Levites had not been given to them, so that the Levites and the singers who did the work had fled each to his field. So I confronted the officials and said, "Why is the house of God forsaken?" And I gathered them together and set them in their station. And all Judah brought the tithe of the grain, wine, and oil into the storehouses. And I appointed as treasurers over the storehouses Shalomit the priest, Zadok the scribe, and Pedaiah the Levite, and as their assistant Hanan, the son of Zachariah, son of Mattaniah, for they were considered reliable, and their duty was to distribute to their brothers. Remember me, O my God, concerning this, and do not wipe out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for his service. In those days I saw in Judah people treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing heaps of grain and loading them on donkeys with also wine, grapes, figs, and all kinds of goods, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I warned them on that day where they sold food. Pirates also, who lived in the sea, brought in fish and all kinds of goods, and sold them on the Sabbath, and to the people of Judah in Jerusalem itself. Then I confronted the nobles of Judah and said to them, "What is this evil thing that you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers act in this way? And did not our God bring all this disaster on us and on the sea? Now you are bringing more wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath." As soon as it began to grow dark at the gates of Jerusalem before the Sabbath, I commanded that the doors should be shut and gave orders that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And I stationed some of my servants at the gates, that no load might be brought in on the Sabbath day. And the merchants and sellers of all kinds of wine lodged outside Jerusalem with their tithe. But I warned them and said to them, "Why do you lodge outside the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you." From that time on, they did not come on the Sabbath. Then I commanded the Levites that they should purify themselves and come and guard the gates to keep the Sabbath day holy. Remember this also in my favor, O my God, and spare me according to the greatness of your steadfast love. In those days I also saw the Jews who had married women of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, and half of their children spoke by the language of Ashdod, and they could not speak the language of Judah, but only the language of each people. And I confronted them and cursed them, and beat some of them, and pulled out their hair. And I made them take an oath in the name of God, saying, "You shall not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons or for yourselves." Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin on account of such women? Among the many nations there was no king like him, and he was beloved by his God. And God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, foreign women were made even him to sin. Shall we then listen to you and do all this great evil, and act treacherously against our God by marrying foreign women? And one of the sons of Jehoiada, the son of Elisha the high priest, was the son-in-law of Sanballat the Horonite. Therefore I chased him from me. Remember them, O my God, because they have desecrated the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and the Levites. Thus I cleansed them from everything foreign, and I established the duties of the priesthood and Levites, each in his work. And I provided for the wood offering at appointed times, and for the first fruits. Remember, O my God, for good. Proverbs 6. My son, if you put up security for your neighbor, you have given you a place for a stranger. If you are unsteady in the words of your mouth, according to the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself. For you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go, hasten, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes to sleep, and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourselves like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider always, and be wise. Without having any chief officer or rule, she prepares her bread and supper, and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. And poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with a crooked speech. He winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger, with perverted heart devises evil, continually sowing discord. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment he will be broken beyond healing. There are 6 things that our Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, and lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, A heart that devises a wicked plan, and feet that make haste to run to evil. A false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. My son, keep your father's commandments, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your heart, always tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will talk with you. For the commandment is the land, and the teaching of the light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life, to preserve you from the evil one, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For the price of a prostitute is only a loaf of bread, but a married woman can stare at a precious life. Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is he who goes into his neighbor's wife. None who touches her will go unpunished. People who do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he is hungry, but if he is caught, he will pay sevenfold. He will give all his goods of his house. He who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself. He will get winds in the sun, and his disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy makes a man furious, and he will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. He will refuse though you multiply gifts. Psalm 101. I will sing of steadfast love and justice to you, O Lord. I will make music. I will ponder the way that is blameless. And when will you come to me? I will walk with integrity of heart within my house. I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. I hate the work of those who fall away. It shall not cling to me. A perverse heart shall be far from me. I will know nothing of evil. Whoever slanders his neighbor secretly, I will destroy. Whoever has a haughty look and an arrogant heart, I will not endure. I will look with favor on the faithful in the land, that they may dwell with me. He who walks in the way that is blameless shall minister to me. No one who practices deceit shall dwell in my house. No one who utters lies shall continue before my eyes. Morning by morning I will destroy all the wicked in the land, cutting off all the evildoers from the city of the Lord. Now thus done, I shall now do the Lord's Prayer. Please bow your heads. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. See you tomorrow. Bye.